I don't think I've ever been more excited to make a YouTube video. And it has taken us a very long time to get to this point, but today is gonna show all of us why this wait was worth it. That's enough of an intro. I'm ready to go get it. All right, now how do I get it out of here? I have an idea. I don't know if it's a good idea, but I have an idea. Yeah, it should work. Who knows? Go. I really need to go buy a forklift if I'm gonna keep doing stuff like this. Oh man. Move, fish. Fish, get out of my way. Go. I didn't even need the hammer. I look like I've done this before. All right, this is my OBS Chevy. If you're new here or you just haven't seen it before, whatever the case may be, it's lifted about 20 inches total with the big FTS in the front. Everything torsion bars back is completely custom, one-off, done by me and my buddy. It's just a triangulated 4-link with coilovers in the rear and then a custom cradle we had built to tie the front and rear lifts together so it all looked like it worked together. One of the newest things done to it is it's now sitting on 44s and 28x16 JTXs. So I'd say lift-wise, you know, with the suspension wheels and tires, frame down, the truck is basically done. Obviously, right now, it's lacking a lot above the frame. Now, the reason for that is if you didn't see it, there's a pond right back there behind this building in a field that this truck blew up in almost a year ago. Now, the reason it's still sitting like this after about a year is because we were waiting on that. The wait was definitely worth it. Now, a lot of people were trying to guess what I was going to put in this truck. And if people guessed a small block, it was always a 383. If people guessed a big block, it was always a 454. But for the most part, everybody just wanted me to either come and swap it or LS swap it. And I would love to do either one of those things. I love those options. But for the same reason I did the big FTS lift instead of a solid axle swap, I wanted to be different. I didn't want to do what everybody else is doing. So with that being said, I went back and forth a lot with what I wanted to do. I had pretty much made up my mind I wanted a big block. So because of that, I got into looking at Blueprint engines, and this one seemed like the best option. So what I ended up going with was Blueprint Engines 540 big block Chevy. Now all I bought was the long block, so it didn't come with this intake, but I went ahead and bought the intake because I needed the lift plates just to be able to move it around a lot easier while it was down here. So I bought the intake before the motor even came in, knowing what I was gonna do. But we'll get into this intake a little bit more in a second. All right, so like I said, it is a brand new Blueprint Engine 540. The only time that's been put on this motor is when it was dyno tested, which I have dyno sheets right here. But before we get into that, If you don't know about Blueprint engines, this is Blueprint's block, this is Blueprint's heads, even their timing chain cover, forged crankshaft, forged pistons, forged rods, everything, aluminum heads. Basically, at the end of the day, it was designed after a big block Chevy. It's got a 4 1/4 inch stroke. It's got a 4 1/2 inch bore. This is a 4-bolt main. Now, the biggest thing to think about with this motor, this is only Blueprint Engine's 8.5-to-1 compression ratio 540. They have another one that I believe is a 10-to-1. Don't quote me on that because I might be wrong, but I got their 8.5-to-1 because this was built as a power adder motor. This was built to take boost with low compression and love it. So I'm sure that can kind of give you an idea on what I'm planning on doing with this motor and that massive truck that's not supposed to have a motor like this. When this motor was dyno tuned, it was built with a single plane intake with one 4150 carburetor. I believe, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was just a single 4150 carburetor with the low compression. This motor made 616.6 horsepower with 636 foot-pounds of torque. Now their 10-to-1 does make a little bit more because obviously it's higher compression. It's not meant for boost. Now I know obviously this is not gonna make that to the ground, but my hope is I am gonna make at least close to that with this Holley intake that I bought. I'll be running two 4150 style throttle bodies instead of one, each of which is obviously gonna be upgraded a lot. The fuel system I'm planning on putting in this thing is gonna be just insane overkill for what I'm doing. But like I said, this is a boost motor, which means this is not all this motor is getting. This might not even be the intake that stays on this motor, but I'm not gonna get too deep into that just yet. First, we're gonna get the truck running naturally aspirated with this dual 4150 intake, and then we'll start going from there. Every time I look at this motor, I just fall more and more in love. Especially this intake. Like I said, this intake might not be staying on here, but I'm gonna cry when I take it off because it just looks so good. Oh, I actually just remembered a really big part of this whole motor setup that I need to tell you guys. And this is actually the perfect angle to show you guys how my mind thinks. So, I love GM orange. It means something. A big block Chevy is supposed to be this color. I get all that, and I'm sorry, but this block is getting painted black. It has to. And the only reason I say that is because I'm gonna want this engine bay to look like art when I open it. I want it to look good. I don't want it to just be functional. I don't want to see any wires. I don't want to see any fuel lines. Like, I'm gonna want this to look like a show truck engine bay. So with this block being orange, as you can see in this angle, it just looks too close to the red that I feel like it's gonna look like it doesn't match. I feel like it's gonna look like it's not supposed to be that color, or it's the wrong color, even though it's not. So block is getting painted black, and I'll probably end up getting a set of like gloss black valve covers, just because it's gonna be very bright on top of this motor already with this intake and these heads. So I might try to darken it up a little bit with that. Now the truck is basically ready to put the motor in. The only thing left in the truck that still has to come out is this transmission cross member is getting taken out because I'm gonna make my own, because obviously, even if I put the 4L60 back on the back of this, it's not gonna line back up where it's supposed to. And I don't want a 4L60 anyway. I'm not gonna tell you guys what transmission I'm doing yet, but it's definitely gonna hold up. Other than that, the only thing that needs to be done, don't worry about all this. This is a rock light harness, and it's a lot cleaner than it looks, I promise. This frame needs to be sanded down and painted because I was never able to get to this part with the motor in the truck. I'm also gonna just redo everything, probably transmission crossmember forward, just to, you know, make it clean, because I did this so long ago. So once the frame is clean and transmission crossmember is taken out and the block is painted, then we should be good to go ahead and put the block in the truck. I'll worry about transmission later, and then I'll start doing what I need to do to get this running. Which means I think we're gonna start with the fuel system, because that's gonna require a lot of figuring out. I just can't stop looking at it. I can't believe, it finally feels real. I just can't believe that I'm about to put that 540, 620 horsepower before all my fuel upgrades I'm about to do and putting boost on it in this massive 20-inch lifted truck. That's so stupid. I'm on boggers, but I'm here for it. I'm excited. I'm unbelievably excited. Oh, I just realized I need to take that sticker off because those are not forces. But really, I don't think there's too much more to talk about. Y'all saw the new wheels and tires in the last video. You've seen the motor in this video. So now I think it's finally time to stop showing y'all stuff and stop talking about stuff and we're about to finally start working on this thing.